All right, it's Giving Tuesday. I'm Sherry Mackey, the Marketing and Communications Director for Agape Child and Family Services, and I'm so excited to have on with us our president and our CEO, one of the kindest men, one of the most compassionate men you will ever meet, Mr. David Jordan. How are you, David?
Good morning, Sherry. How are you doing? Good to
I
be
am
with you.
great. I'm great. It is Giving Tuesday, right?
Yes, it is. It's an important day. Very
It's a
important for
very,
us.
very important day. You
Yes.
know, when I think about this COVID-19 pandemic that has
hmm
struck our world, not just our nation, but our world.
hmm
And I certainly, we express our appreciation to all of those working on the front lines, the
Yes.
doctors, the nurses,
hmm
healthcare workers, and so on, truck drivers and all of that.
hmm
But I have to commend you and, of course, our Agape staff, because we're on the front lines of this thing as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. And of course, as you know, we have basically 120 staff. Most of them are just the line staff, those working in communities in Fraser, Whitehaven, and Hickory Hill, three communities that we serve deeply alongside with our families. And it is hit hard, and especially our families at this time. You're exactly right.
So now, David, our families have expressed some of the
Mhm.
things that we take for granted that they need during this time.
Yeah, yeah. So our staff, while we are honoring social distancing as an agency, so we've been remote officing, as you know, for now, this is our 8th week, we still have remained very engaged with our families, calling, FaceTiming, texting. And so our families have told us, matter of fact, 359 of our families have told us that food and food insecurities are a major issue. And so worried about having food. And for many of our families, transportation is an issue. And so not only where do I go to, how do I get it? But once I get there, have I compromised myself and my families in terms of not being able to social distance? And
Now,
so,
David, you're doing something about that, though. Agape is doing something about that. We're not just
yeah,
hearing the issue, we're doing something about
yeah.
that
And
food
so
insecurity.
yeah, so voice and choice. Hearing the voice of our families is critical. We're always saying, what are our people saying? And so we always ask those questions. And so once we heard that, we immediately said, okay, we can respond to that. And so folks have been gracious to begin giving. I know that's part of what we're doing with Giving Tuesday now. And so we are having food delivered directly to the door, literally to the doorstep of our families from the food distribution, Ubered or an Uber like going directly to the families and food being brought there at least weekly. And so that is a huge need, and it's a continued need for our families.
Absolutely. And then another need has been internet connectivity and laptops, something that we assume that we already have, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so most of us, I mean, just like what we're doing right now, we've got a laptop and we've got connectivity and we're able to do exactly what we're doing. Well, if you look in Memphis, and there's been data to show, especially typically in communities that are under-resourced, so Fraser, Whitehaven, Hickory Hill being communities this would be true for, are very underrepresented in terms of their connectivity. And so not only do I have connectivity, can I go on the internet, do I have a device like a laptop? I may have a smartphone, but do I have a device that can help me? And so Agape is saying, okay, for the 600 families that we're serving, we plan and we're working right now. And so these funds are going to help us toward that end, to be able to get a device in every home. So a laptop, something that the family will own. It'll be a gift to them. We will ensure connectivity so that, yes, I can connect to the web. It also will include training. And so training for our families, training for our staff of how do you do Zoom and these other kind of
Yeah.
things. And this will allow for our staff to have even face-to-face engagement with our families, kind of what some folks would call telehealth, for those who are aware of that. But also, not only that, but it will allow us to do all of the services that we provide in our poverty reduction work, and it'll give access to our families for their kids who are not in school to be able to have school support. For the families
Yeah.
trying to say, okay, I need a job or I need more of a job, especially now because I've lost employment, to be able to have connectivity that way, be able to connect to a healthcare provider through a telehealth model. So this, we believe, is a huge game changer for our families. And so this is significant for us.
This is a game changer because these are things that we take for granted that we have. You know,
Yeah.
I've heard people complain about having to become teachers instantly for their children, but
Mm-hmm.
imagine having to do that with no computer, no internet activity, connectivity, or having to try to search for a job virtually and you don't have a computer.
Yeah, yeah. And so some would call this the digital divide. And
Yes.
so it's not a new matter. It's not new. So it's not like this has just become a matter now. COVID-19 and the pandemic has really shown a light on what has been true for a long period of time. And so, I mean, and I would say this really is a matter of justice and righteousness. And I think the gospel, if Isaiah was around, he'd be talking about you are keeping people apart. You're keeping them away from education. You're keeping them away from jobs. You're not allowing for resources to flow. And so this is something that we're leaning into, not just in a practical way, but really in a way of justice and saying our families, our 600 families. But as I speak that so many families in our city. So I appreciate Shelby County Schools and others are leaning into this, saying we have got to do more for our families, especially around this digital divide.
Awesomeness. And so Agape is doing something, and we need help, right?
Mhm.
Our
Yes.
goal today is $100,000, right?
That's right. That's right. So we're trying to raise at least $100,000, and that will help us for the immediate needs. And so for food, matters of utility, housing, just the immediate needs for during the pandemic. But also, again, we're leaning into and saying, let's look beyond the immediate crisis. We're going to continue to serve in that kind of way. But what about longer term for our families? And so this whole area of digital divide and having laptops placed in homes and the connectivity and so all these pieces. And so these dollars are going specifically for those purposes.
We're excited to be a blessing to our families, and we're excited that it's Giving Tuesday, which is an opportunity for others to give as well. We want you guys to give online right now at
Mhm.
agapemeanslove.org/donate.
Mm.
Click right there and give. Give from your heart. There is no limit to the amount you can give, but you do spell million, Million, right? You
That
can
is right.
also you can also text your gift as well. Agape 2020 to 41444.